Guys, we took the double arm out of this machine. You take a double arm out of this thing, obviously you got to find out what's going on with it. So previously, things we have discussed is, why'd you take double arm out to begin with? Well, some of the things you guys might run into is you're flinging tools out of the machine. It's thrown at the window. It's thrown at the front of the machine. Sometimes you might just have some misalignment issues or whatnot. Tool changer is clunky. A lot of that has to do with your double arm. The issue with this double arm is nowhere in this machine is there a switch or a sensor on this arm to know there is something wrong with it. This thing could be completely out 90 degrees. The machine's going to have no idea. It's still going to attempt to do a tool change. So that's one of the big problems with this. Now, there's no way to mount switches on it for it to know, so it's our job when we're working on these things to inspect them every once in a while. Preventative maintenance-wise, every once in a while, it doesn't hurt to take this thing off, take a look at it, and see what's going on in here. Now, basic things you guys are going to want to check initially, see if the arm's straight. Make sure from end to end on this thing is nice and flat. No different than your guys' umbrella tool changer. If this thing is not flat, this thing's got a little bit of a curve or a bow to it, every time this thing goes to do a tool change, it's going to be slamming tools into pockets, slamming tools into your spindle, and it's going to be damaging other components on this machine. So first thing I like to do is when I take a double arm off this thing, take a straight edge from edge to edge and make sure that thing is straight. Once I verify it's straight, then I'm okay and comfortable with going farther on this thing. Because once this arm is bent, you might as well order a new one, throw this one in the trash. There's no way you're going to get this thing straight. Let's say in our case here, this arm is nice and straight. We don't have any issues there. We can further inspect a little bit deeper. One of the things you guys are going to want to take a look at is our grooves right here. The purpose of this grooves is when your tool comes in and it locks in there, you want that tool to lock into that groove. If that groove is beat up, it's got damage to it, it's got sharp edges on it or whatnot, that's going to prematurely wear out your grooves on your tool holders. You're going to start causing damage to that. The other thing you're going to want to inspect while you're in here is the keyway. Things like spindle orientation can affect where that keyway is getting damaged or not. So if your spindle orientation is off ever so slightly, when your tool comes into there and actually goes to lock in, it can actually eat up that keyway, just like on your guys' umbrella tool changer he showed you guys over there. So things like that are quick inspections you guys can do. Now, if we go back to the procedure in the book or online the Haas gives you, a little bit of damage, these things are okay. They're steel. They will get worn a little bit. Don't be afraid to take a file to those edges and clean them up a little bit. But excessive damage, you're probably going to want to replace your double arm. Now, fortunately for you guys on these double arms, you can replace the keyway on these things. Simple as 5/32 bolt. Move the bolt. And your keyway can be changed. So if you do get a damaged keyway, all you've got to do, unbolt it, order a new one, put a new one in there, and you'll be good to go.
Is that typically the first part to go in the double arm is the keyway?
It really depends on the damage that's occurred. Good question there to ask, because if you've got a customer that's been constantly having, say, orientation issues, the first thing I'm going to want to check is this keyway. If you have a customer maybe had a bad spindle encoder, and they're constantly calling in service, needing to have the orientation reset, as a tech, I'm going to come in there and want to look at this keyway, because I guarantee it's probably been damaged over time. So it is definitely something you're going to want to check. And it's a cheap little part, easy to replace, easy to fix. So once you've inspected those components, there are some internal components you're going to want to look at too. So on the inside of this arm, we have got a spring that holds this thumb in here. And what's this thumb's job is to lock the tool in this arm, so when it drops out of the carousel, that tool doesn't fling anywhere. Now, how this works is you have a plunger assembly here that as long as this plunger assembly is up, that keyway or that thumb will not come out. That is what locks it in. When this arm is in the upward position, it pushes down on our plunger here, allows that thumb movement. That is why it'll actually release the tool off of there. So inside here, we've got two springs, a plunger, and a thumb associated here. These springs have a duty cycle just like any other spring. Springs break. So it's something that doesn't hurt to take apart and inspect and see what's going on in here. It's a quick and easy process also. A couple little bolts here.
And not doing maintenance, you're going to know that spring's broke if it drops the tool.
Pretty typically, because you can reach in there pretty even before you take the arm off and see if anything's going on there. It should have tension on it at all times.
Okay.
If you take it off, there's your thumb assembly with the spring. Well, you can pop that thing out of there and separate those two pieces just like that. A little bit farther, you do have your plunger here. It's got another 2 bolts here. Now this one, as you take these bolts out, you're going to have that spring pressure to deal with. So it doesn't hurt. Put a little pressure on that thing. Take that bolt out. That'll come right up. And there is your plunger and your spring for that. Now you're going to see this assembly's dry on this one. Typically you want to have a little bit of grease in here. A marine grade grease is great for this. Now you're going to notice on this cover plate when I took it off, you see no gaskets on here. There's not a gasket on here. There's not one from the factory either. Coolant can enter this thing. That's why we want to use a marine grade grease. You also, when you go and re-grease these assemblies, you don't want to pack this slap full of grease. There is actually built in right here in the middle. Comes right out the bottom side here. A tiny little weep hole. That is allowing for coolant to escape here. If you don't allow for that coolant to escape, all that grease is going to hold that coolant in there. Now, do you guys know what coolant is made of?
Oil.
Oil, what else?
Water.
How much water?
More water than oil.
More water than oil. So if you got all that water captured in that grease, what's going to happen to these springs?
Rust.
They're going to rust. What happens to rust after a while?
Great.
It's going to break in half, and then this thing's going to start flinging tools out of here. So it's very important every so often, take these assemblies apart, clean them, and re-grease them. Now your new arms. Right next to here, you're going to find a Zerk fitting located on your new arms. It's going to allow for quick maintenance. You'll be able to go in there every so often, take a grease gun, put a little bit of grease in there. That'll save you from having to take the entire arm off the machine. Unfortunately, these older ones did not have that luxury for us, so we've got to take the thing all the way apart. So, this makes sense so far to you guys?
Yep.
Yes.
Now, there's one other key component I like people to point out and take a look at, and that is this little bolt right there. That bolt does a very important job. In the bottom of your thumb right there is a groove. That bolt's job is to hold that thumb from coming out. I have seen in the past where that bolt head will get sheared. That'll allow this thumb to slide out like this. Now remember, this arm swings around and grabs a tool. What's going to happen if that thumb is hanging out there?
It ain't going to grab it.
It ain't going to grab it. It's probably going to try to bend this arm, if not slip this entire arm on the shaft, damaging not only the arm, and this can also, as quick as some of your SS machines y'all have dealt with, it can damage your cam box pretty quickly if that happens. So anytime I open one of these up, that is a very cheap replacement bolt. It is a bolt on one end, nut on the other side. Replace it. There's no point while you're in there to not go ahead and do that. This make sense so far?
Yep.
Alright. So, thumb assembly. Now, I personally don't know what Haas makes this thumb out of, but I have never seen one of these get damaged. So you can look at this thing. This is an old arm. It is an original arm. You can see there's a little bit of the paint worn off there. That's about it. So this assembly stays pretty solid. You can order this if you need to. Now, there's a key note to remember in here. This shaft and this thumb are 2 separate pieces. Within the 2, this nut is welded to the shaft. This thumb can actually unthread off here, and there's an important reason why. There is a set distance in which this tool has a gap between it and this thumb. There's an important reason for that. When this thing does do a tool change, there needs to be enough play to allow that tool to slide in there for that thumb to clamp on it, but not too much play that this tool, when it's locked in there, is wobbling around. These things change tools really quickly. If that thumb is not holding on tight enough, as this thing wobbles around, it can actually, as it goes into the pocket, actually damage the pocket just from constant vibration. So there is a set distance there. Now, when we get this thing back together, I'll show you guys how to check that distance. But while we got it apart, I'm going to show you how to adjust it. So, all you need is a couple adjustables. You're going to put an adjustable on your thumb assembly like so. Put another one on your nut there. Crack them loose. And then you're going to unthread them. And you will find in here some tiny little shims. Now, the purpose of these shims, they are 10 thou thickness shims. You're going to notice if you've been working on a Haas, 10 thou thickness seems to be the common shim for just about everything. Now, the purpose of shims is for that gap reason. So what you'd have to do is check this. Find out where your gap is between the thumb and the tool. And then all you have to do is take your cover plate off, add or remove shims from the shaft to close or open that gap up.
And that's the same distance on every machine model.
Every single side mount tool changer. That's going to be the same exact. The distance we're looking for is no tighter than 15 thousandths, no looser than 25 thousandths. I don't care if it's a VF2 with a side mount tool changer or a VF14 or an EC400 or a UMC. All the double arms are going to keep that same exact spec no matter what. Make sense?
Makes sense.
All right. So we're going to put this thing back together. Show you guys how to check that thing. Get snug. So first thing I like to do, get your spring assembly in there. Again, light layer of marine grade grease, just enough to cover stuff. Put your plunger back on there. Take your plunger cap, put a couple bolts there. Hold that thing into place and just start snugging them back down. Now these don't need to have a crazy amount of tension on them. Just snug them. Once you get them on there, take your new thumb assembly. Once you got this thing all together, especially after you've done your checks, you don't want to have this thing covered in grease until you've done your checks. Get it nice and greased up. You're going to slide it on there. Simple and easy. Pop it right over the head of that bolt. Holds that assembly in there. And then you're going to put your other cover plate on. Now you're going to notice on our lovely cover right here, two of my bolts are snapped off on here. Are any of y'all familiar with a impact screwdriver?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Never used one before. It's the best tool to get these things out of there. You just stick a bit in there, hold it on there, smack it with a hammer. It'll get these things to break free. On this one, obviously, two of them had broke off just from age of this thing, and somebody probably put a little bit too much torque when they took it apart last time. So don't be afraid to use some tools to your advantage. Now, once we got this thing together, put our keyway in there, and we can start doing some checks on this thing. Now, remember how this assembly works. You can't just try to slide your tool in there because we got it locked up in there. So you're going to want to. It's not the easiest way I find to do it. Turn it on its side, hold that down with your finger, and lock it into place. Easy way to do this check. Get you some feeler gauges. Start out with that 15 thou. That is going to be your minimum gap. Should be able to slide that in there. I can. We're good to go there. We know we're not too tight. So now we're going to start stepping up to 25, which is our first step in which needs to be able to open this thing up. So all you got to do is find your feeler gauge, get your 25 thou thick feeler gauge, slide it in there. I know 25 thou will fit. We're good, but are we too loose? Since our shims are 10 thou thickness, my next step is going to be 35 thou. If I can go 35 thou, I know I need to at least add one shim in there. So all you're going to do is go through your little feeler gauge shit set, find you a 35. Well, look at there.
We need to add a shim.
I need to add at least one shim, right? Now, are you going to take it all the way apart and add a shim and then check it again?
That's why I've checked 45.
That's exactly what I'm going to do. Now, if you're not familiar with feeler gauges, 35 is as big as they're going to give you. So what I like to do, find you a 10. Stick your 35 and your 10 together. Oh, look at there.
Ooh.
I got to get two shims in there now. So I'm going to keep going. Gonna find me a 20 in here. I'm going to take that 20 and that 35. Now, you can take your whole shim pack apart if you want to do this, but most of these are flexible enough that you can make it kind of work. So, stick them two together. I think we might have found a problem with this arm, don't you think?
Yep.
I mean, we're already, what, 3 shims off now?
Yep.
All right. I'm starting to run out of shim pack for this, ain't we?
Yeah.
So let's try a 30 and a 35. Oh, we're 3 shims off. So we would then take this cover plate off, remove that thumb assembly, go ahead and add 3 shims in there, and recheck this. That make sense? Now, in a pinch, you guys don't have to use 10 thou shims. You guys got washers at your disposal, right?
Yep.
All I need to be is between 15 and 25. You got a washer, you can stick a washer in there. As long as you check in that room, I'm fine with that. It's going to work. A shim washer is a shim washer. It's just more precise than a normal washer. Does that make sense?
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Now that you guys seen how far off that is, see how much wiggle room is in there? Now, if you guys have seen those SS machines, or
Oh, yeah.
some of you guys have dealt with DTs and DMs, how quickly those tool changes are. You imagine that kind of vibration going into the spindle of a machine, what's that going to do to the taper? What's that going to do to the pocket? You're going to start damaging other components. So just a simple little shim check here can cause so much damage to not just one pocket. You can have machines with 24 pockets, 40 pockets, 50 pockets, 70 pockets. Heck, I think we got a 120 pocket one now.
Yeah.
It starts to add up really quickly. And then on top of it, your spindle itself. You start causing damage to your spindle. You keep doing tool changes. That then transferred into your tools themselves. So not only do you get a damaged spindle, you get damaged tool holders. The process just multiplies. So all these checks right here are very important on one of these double arms. This make sense, you guys?
Yeah.
All right.